Batman TV series. Batman is a 1960s American live-action television series based on the DC comic book character of the same name. It stars Adam West as Batman and Burt Ward as Robin, two crime-fighting heroes who defend Gotham City from a variety of arch-villains. It is known for its camp style, upbeat theme music, and its intentionally humorous, simplistic morality. This included championing the importance of using seat belts, doing homework, eating vegetables, and drinking milk. It was described by executive producer William Dozier as the only situation comedy on the air without a laugh track. 120 episodes aired on the ABC network for 3 seasons from January 12, 1966 to March 14, 1968, twice weekly for the first 2 and weekly for the third. In 2016, television critics Alan Sepinwall and Matt Zoller Seitz ranked Batman as the 82nd greatest American television show of all time. Format: ostensibly a crime series, the style of the show was in fact campy and tongue-in-cheek. It was a true situation comedy, in that situations were exaggerated and were generally played for laughs. This increased as the seasons wore on, with the addition of ever greater absurdity. The characters, however, always took the absurd situations extremely seriously, which added to the comedy. The series focused on the adventures of Batman and Robin, although the lives of their alter egos, millionaire Bruce Wayne and his ward Dick Grayson, were frequently shown. It was usually only briefly, in the context of their being called away on superhero business, or in circumstances where they needed to employ their secret identities to assist in their crime fighting. The dynamic duo typically come to the aid of the Gotham City police upon the latter being stumped by a supervillain. Throughout each episode, Batman and Robin have to follow a series of clues to discover the supervillain's plan, then figure out how to thwart the plan and capture the criminal. For the first 2 seasons, Batman aired twice a week on consecutive nights. Every story is a 2-parter, except for 2 3-parters featuring villainous team-ups in the second season. The titles of each multi-part story usually rhymed. For the third season, which aired once a week, most episodes were self-contained stories. The cliffhangers between multiple parters typically consisted of the supervillain holding someone captive, usually the dynamic duo, with the captives being subject to some elaborate, gruesome, if unlikely, death. This would inevitably be resolved early in the follow-up episode. Typical episode format and elements. Each story relied on using the same formula, so that the audience quickly came to expect a series of familiar set pieces, a phone call from the police asking for Batman's help, a dash to the Batcave, a race in the Batmobile to police headquarters, a conference in the commissioner's office, investigating the scene of the crime, examining clues in the crime lab at the Batcave, rushing to the villain's secret hideout, falling into the pre-arranged trap. By relying heavily on a formula, it became easy to spoof various elements of that formula. Teaser and exposition. The typical story begins with a villain's caper. In his office, Commissioner Gordon, along with Chief O'Hara, learn of the crime and the culprit. Helpless to stop the villain, they contact Batman via the Batphone, a bright red telephone that provides a direct phone link to Batman. At stately Wayne Manor, Alfred answers the Batphone and informs Bruce Wayne of the call. Frequently, Wayne and his ward, Dick Grayson, are found talking with Dick's aunt, Harriet Cooper, who is unaware of Bruce and Dick's secret identities. Alfred discreetly interrupts, and they excuse themselves to go to the Batphone in Wayne's study. Upon learning the details from Gordon, Wayne turns a switch concealed within a bust of Shakespeare that stands on his desk to reveal two fireman's poles hidden behind a sliding bookcase. "To the Bat poles," Wayne exclaims, and he and Grayson slide down the poles that lead to the Batcave. The title sequence features animated versions of Batman and Robin, drawn in the then-current style of the comic books, running towards camera, and then fighting an assortment of villains, including several marquee villains such as the Joker and the Penguin, and Adam West as Dick Grayson, Robin and Bruce Wayne, Batman, respectively. Similar in style and content to the 1940s serials, Batman and Robin would arrive at the bottom of the Batpoles in the Batcave in full costume. They then jump into the Batmobile. Robin checks the gauges and reports atomic batteries to power, turbines to speed. Batman responds, "Roger," ready to move out. With that, after fastening their seatbelts, the two would drive out of the cave at high speed. As the Batmobile approached the mouth of the cave, a camouflaged door would swing open, and a hinged road barrier outside the Batcave would drop down to allow the car to exit onto the road. The duo then speeds to police headquarters to meet with Gordon and be briefed on the criminal they must thwart. Most of the footage following the opening title sequence from Batman and Robin sliding down the Batpoles through their arrival at police headquarters was reused in each episode. Investigation. The initial discussion of the crime usually leads to Batman and Robin conducting their investigation alone, although the police are often used for assistance, and to implement plans or traps that Batman devises to catch the villain. Typically, Batman and Robin must use deduction from the clues left by the villain to determine elements such as the villain's identity, plan, target, and/or location. This usually results in a meeting with the villain, a fistfight with the villain's henchmen, and the villain's escape, leaving a further series of unlikely clues for the duo to investigate. Later, they would face the villain's henchmen again, be captured, and one or both heroes placed in a death trap, leading to a cliffhanger ending, which was usually resolved in the first few minutes of the next episode. After the cliffhanger, the latter part of multi-episode stories begins with a brief recap of the first part. After the opening credits and the theme music, the cliffhanger is resolved. The same general plot pattern of investigation and confrontation repeats in the following episode until the villain is defeated in a major brawl. Other recurring elements. The series used a narrator who parodied both the breathless narration style of the 1940s serials and Walter Winchell's bombastic narration of The Untouchables. He would end many of the cliffhanger episodes by intoning, "Tune in tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel," in the episodes following cliffhangers. Recaps of the previous episode consisted of a series of short phrases from Dozier accompanying short, silent clips of the prior episode, which usually ending in a freeze frame. In the third season, when single-episode stories were introduced, the narrator would end the show by encouraging viewers to tune in the following week. During the climactic fistfights in each episode, the punches and other impacts were punctuated by onomatopoeia superimposed in bright colors over the action on the screen, as in comic book fight scenes. As a money-saving device, after the first season, instead of being superimposed over the fight scene, the sound effects were merely printed on cards and inserted into the action. Despite the regular fighting on the show, Batman and Robin typically use non-lethal force. Only 3 criminal characters die during the series: the Riddler's mole Molly, who accidentally falls into the Batcave's atomic reactor, and 2 out-of-town gunmen who shoot at Batman and Robin, but kill each other instead. Toward the end of Zelda the Great, a death worse than fate. In the film, 6 criminals die in total. 5 henchmen are dehydrated by the Penguin in order to infiltrate the Batcave, but this plan fails when the henchmen unexpectedly disappear into antimatter once struck. A 6th henchman is presumably killed when he is caught in a trap meant for Batman and sprung into an exploding octopus. Twice, the Catwoman appears to fall to her death, but returned in later episodes. In Instant Freeze, Mr. Freeze freezes a butler solid and knocks him over, and sound effects suggest that he is shattered into pieces. A later reference suggests the butler survived. In Green Ace, Mr. Freeze freezes a policeman solid. It is left unclear whether he survived. In The Penguin's Nest, a policeman suffers an electric shock at the hands of the Penguin's accomplices, but he is presumed to survive, as he appears in some later episodes. A catchphrase popularized by the series was Robin's saying, "Holy subject, Batman," whenever he encountered something startling. This phrase was parodied in the 1995 film Batman Forever. In many episodes, Batman and Robin must get to a high point of a building or other structure. They do this via the bat rope, which is thrown and anchored above the high point, and which Batman and Robin climb by walking up the side of the structure with the aid of the rope. The climbing sequences were filmed by rotating the camera 90 degrees and building a set for the side of the structure along the studio floor. The heroes' capes were pulled back with invisible lines. In many episodes, celebrities are made cameo appearances by popping their heads out of windows along these climbs to speak to the heroes. In one episode, the Catwoman's hideout is a hair salon owned by a Mr. Oceanbrung. The real-life inspiration for the character, hairstylist J.C. Bring, appears uncredited during the fight scene and has a couple of spoken lines. The villains commonly have henchmen whose names are somehow associated with the villain's identity. For example, Catwoman's henchmen have cat-related names like Felix and Leo. Characters commonly use alliterations. Examples include Batman referring to the Joker as a hateful harlequin, and the Penguin calling Catwoman a feline floozy. Only 2 of the show's guest villains ever discovered Batman's true identity, Egghead by deductive reasoning, and King Tut on 2 occasions, the first time with a bug placed on the Batmobile and the second time by accidentally mining into the Batcave. Egghead was tricked into disbelieving his discovery, though, as was Tut in the episode when he bugged the Batmobile. In the episode when Tut tunneled into the Batcave, he was hit on the head by a rock, which made him forget his discovery and jarred him back into his identity as a mild-mannered professor of Egyptology at Yale University. While under the spell of the siren, Commissioner Gordon found the Batcave beneath Wayne Manor and deduced Batman's true identity, but Alfred gassed him to prevent his informing her. The memory of the discovery gone after leaving the siren's spell. The show's campiness was played up in elements, including the design of the villains, dialogue, and in signs appearing on various props. Batman would frequently reveal one of his many crime-fighting gadgets, which were usually given a ridiculous-sounding name that somehow incorporated the word bat, often simply by adding the word bat to an otherwise normal descriptor, such as shark repellent bat spray, bat computer, extra strong bat knockout gas, etc. Most of Batman's items in the Batcave, Bat vehicles and on the utility belt were given superfluous and simplistic block letter labels, even though Batman, Robin and Alfred, the only people who used the equipment, clearly knew what all of it was. Regular cast: Adam West as Bruce Wayne, Batman, a millionaire whose parents were murdered by criminals. He now secretly uses his vast fortune to fight crime as Batman. Producer William Dozier cast Adam West in the role after seeing him perform as the James Bond-like spy Captain Q in a Nestle Quick television ad. Lyle Waggoner had screen tested for the role, though West ultimately won out because, it was said, he was the only person who could deliver the hilarious lines with a straight face. West later voiced an animated version of the title character on the New Adventures of Batman and Super Friends, the legendary Superpowers show, and the Superpowers team, Galactic Guardians. Burt Ward as Dick Grayson, Robin, Batman's faithful partner and boy wonder, a high school student noted for his recurring interjections in the form of "Holy blank." Batman. Ward voiced an animated version of this character on the New Adventures of Batman. Alan Napier as Alfred, Batman's loyal butler and Batgirl's discreet confidant. He is the only person who knows the true identities of Bruce Wayne, Dick Grayson, and Barbara Gordon. Neil Hamilton as Commissioner Gordon, the commissioner of the Gotham City Police Department, and one of Batman's two major police contacts. He summons the dynamic duo via the Batphone, or the Bat Signal. Stafford Rep as Chief O'Hara, Gotham City's chief of police, and Batman's other major police contact. The character was created by Semple for the series, as someone for Gordon to talk to, and later briefly added to the comics. Madge Blake as Harriet Cooper, Dick Grayson's maternal aunt. She first appeared in the comics 2 years before the series premiered, to give Bruce and Dick a reason to be secretive about their dual identities. Yvonne Craig as Barbara Gordon, Batgirl, Commissioner Gordon's daughter, Gotham City librarian, and crime-fighting partner for Batman and Robin for the third season. Occasionally this threesome was nicknamed the Terrific Trio. William Dozier, executive producer, creator, and narrator. According to Adam West's memoir, Back to the Batcave, his first exposure to the series concept was through reading a sample script in which Batman enters a nightclub in his complete costume and requests a booth near the wall, as he shouldn't wish to attract attention. It was the scrupulously formal dialogue, and the way that Batman earnestly believed he could avoid standing out while wearing a skin-tight blue and gray costume, that convinced West of the character's comic potential. With the death of Adam West on June 9, 2017, Burt Ward is now the sole surviving main Batman cast member. Origin. In the early 1960s, Ed Graham Productions optioned the television rights to the comic strip Batman, and planned a straightforward juvenile adventure show, much like Adventures of Superman and the Lone Ranger, to air on CBS on Saturday mornings. East Coast ABC executive Yael Udoff, a Batman fan in his childhood, contacted ABC executives Hard Bennett and Edgar J. Sherrick, who were already considering developing a television series based on a comic strip action hero, to suggest a prime-time Batman series in the hip and fun style of The Man from U.N.C.L.E. When negotiations between CBS and Graham stalled, DC Comics quickly re-obtained rights and made the deal with ABC, which farmed the rights out to 20th Century Fox to produce the series. In turn, 20th Century Fox handed the project to William Dozier and his production company, Greenway Productions. ABC and Fox were expecting a hip and fun, yet still serious, adventure show. However, Dozier, who had never before read comic books, concluded, after reading several Batman comics for research, that the only way to make the show work was to do it as a pop-art campy comedy. Originally, espionage novelist Eric Ambler was to have scripted a TV movie that would launch the television series, but he dropped out after learning of Dozier's campy comedy approach. Eventually, 2 sets of screen tests were filmed, one with Adam West and Burt Ward and the other with Lyle Waggoner and Peter Dale, with West and Ward winning the roles. Season 1. Lorenzo Semple, Jr. had signed on as head scriptwriter. He wrote the pilot script, and generally wrote in a pop-art adventure style. Stanley Ralph Ross, Stanford Sherman, and Charles Hoffman were scriptwriters who generally leaned more toward campy comedy, and in Ross's case, sometimes outright slapstick and satire. It was originally intended as a one-hour show, but ABC pushed up the premiere date from fall 1966 to January of that year, with the network having only 2 early evening half-hour time slots available. The show was split into 2 parts, to air twice a week in 30-minute installments. A cliffhanger connected the 2 episodes, echoing the old movie serials. The Joker, the Penguin, the Riddler, Catwoman, Mr. Freeze, and the Mad Hatter, villains who originated in the comic books, all appeared in the series, the plots for which were deliberately villain-driven. According to the producers, Frank Gorshin was selected to portray the Riddler due to the fact that he was a Batman fan since childhood. Catwoman was portrayed by 3 different actresses during the series run: by Julie Newmar in the first 2 seasons, by Lee Merriweather in the feature film based on the series, and by Eartha Kitt in the 3rd and final season. Season 2. Semple's participation in the series decreased in the 2nd season. In his autobiography Back to the Batcave, Adam West explained that, when work on the 2nd season commenced following the completion of the feature film, Dozier, his immediate deputy Howie Horwitz, and the rest of the cast and crew rushed their preparation. Thus, they failed to give themselves enough time to determine what they wanted to do with the series during Season 2. Season 3 was added to the cast for Season 3 in 1967, portraying Barbara Gordon, Batgirl. By Season 3, ratings were falling, and the future of the series seemed uncertain. To attract new viewers, Dozier opted to introduce a female character. He came up with the idea of using Batgirl, who in her civilian identity would be Commissioner Gordon's daughter, Barbara, and asked the editor of the Batman comics to further develop the character, to convince ABC executives to introduce Batgirl as a regular on the show. A promotional short featuring Yvonne Craig as Batgirl and Tim Herbert as Killer Moth was produced. The show was reduced to once a week, with mostly self-contained episodes, although the following week's villain would be introduced in a tag at the end of each episode, similar to a soap opera. Accordingly, the narrator's cliffhanger phrases were mostly eliminated, most episodes ending with him encouraging viewers to watch next week. Aunt Harriet was reduced to just 2 cameo appearances during the 3rd season, due to Madge Blake's poor health, and the issue of trying to fit so many characters into a half-hour episode. Another cast change for the final season was replacing Julie Newmar, who had been a popular recurring guest villain as the Catwoman for the first 2 seasons. Singer-actress Eartha Kitt assumed the role for Season 3, as Newmar was working on the film McKenna's Gold at that time, hence she was unable to appear. In America, Kitt's performance in the series marked the 2nd mainstream television success of a black female, following Nichelle Nichols as LT Uhura in Star Trek, and continued breaking the racial boundaries of the time. Kitt's performance as Catwoman would also, later, inspire Halle Berry's portrayal of the character in the 2004 film Catwoman, in which Berry would mimic Kitt's famous purrs. Frank Gorshin, the original actor to play the Riddler, returned for a single appearance after a 1-season hiatus, during which John Astin made 1 appearance in the role. The nature of the scripts and acting started to enter into the realm of surrealism. For example, the set's backgrounds became mere 2-dimensional cutouts against a stark, black stage. In addition, the 3rd season was much more topical, with references to hippies, mods, and distinctive 1960s slang, which the previous 2 seasons had avoided. Cancellation. Near the end of the 3rd season, ratings had dropped significantly, and ABC cancelled the show. But NBC had agreed to take over the series and was ready to continue. Before that could happen, it was discovered that someone had destroyed the Batman sets, which cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to build, and the deal with NBC was lost. Reruns of the series have been seen on a regular basis in the United States. They are currently shown on the classic TV networks Heroes and Icons on Saturday mornings, METV on Saturday nights, weekdays dubbed in Spanish on Telexitos, as well as Saturday mornings on IFC. Tie-in music. Several cast members recorded music tied into the series. Adam West released a single titled Miranda, a country-tinged pop song that he actually performed in costume during live appearances in the 1960s. Frank Gorshin released a song titled The Riddler, which was composed and arranged by Mel Torme. Burgess Meredith recorded a spoken-word single called The Escape, backed with The Capture, which consisted of the Penguin narrating his recent crime spree to a jazz beat. Burt Ward recorded a song called Boy Wonder, I Love You, written and arranged by Frank Zappa. In 1966, Batman, the exclusive original soundtrack album, was released on LP, featuring music by Nelson Riddle and snippets of dialogue from Adam West, Burt Ward, Burgess Meredith, Frank Gorshin, Ann Baxter and George Sanders. The Batman theme was included, along with titles like Batuziego, Go, Batman Thor's Mr. Freeze and Batman Blues. It was reissued later on compact disc. Adaptations. The show featured numerous adaptations of various Batman comics stories, particularly in its first season. These first season episodes were adaptations. The episodes, Hi Diddle Riddle and Smack in the Middle, were adaptations of Remarkable Ruse of the Riddler from Batman 71. Written by Gardner Fox. In it, the Riddler, jealous of the attention Batman is giving the Molehill Mob, arranges a trap so Batman will apprehend the gang and give the Riddler the Caped Crusaders' undivided attention. The episodes, Fine Feathered Finks and The Penguin's a Jinx, are based on Partners in Plunder from Batman 69, written by Francis D. Heron. The only difference is the Penguin steals the jeweled meteorite instead of kidnapping Dawn Robbins. Many events of the episodes, The Joker is Wild and Batman is Riled, are based on the Silver Age comic book story, The Joker's Utility Belt from Batman 3 by David Verne Reed. The episodes, Instant Freeze and Rats Like Cheese, were inspired by The Ice Crimes of Mr. Zero from Batman 21 by Dave Wood and Sheldon Moldoff. The episodes, Zelda the Great and A Death Worse Than Fate, are based on Batman's inescapable doom trap from Detective Comics 46 by John Broome. Although the evil character of Ollie Kdol appeared in the story, Zelda did not. Instead, the magician was a man named Carnado. The episodes, The 13th Hat and Batman Stands Pat, borrow several elements from several comic book stories such as The Mad Hatter of Gotham City by Bill Finger and Sheldon Moldoff from Detective Comics 30, and The New Crimes of the Mad Hatter by Dave Wood and Sheldon Moldoff from Batman 61. Also, the Mad Hatter's plan of impersonating the sculptor working on a Batman statue for the city in an attempt to steal Batman's cowl comes from the Batman 9 story, The Scoop of the Century, by Bill Finger. The episodes, The Penguin Goes Straight and Not Yet, He Ain't, have a plot point of the Penguin framing Batman for a theft actually comes from Detective Comics 8 by Bill Finger. which is ironic as it was to be the issue in which the Penguin first appeared. The episodes, The Joker Trumps an Ace and Batman Sets the Pace, have several plot points similar to the comic story, A Hairpin, A Hoe, A Hacksaw, A Hole in the Ground by Bill Finger, from Batman 3. The episodes, Death in Slow Motion and The Riddler's False Notion, used a few elements from The Joker's Comedy Capers by Gardner Fox, from Detective 41, only replacing the main villain of The Joker with the Riddler. The Green Hornet and Kato on Batman. Van Williams and Bruce Lee made a cameo appearance as the Green Hornet and Kato in window cameos, while the Batman and Robin were climbing a building. This was in part one of a two-part second-season episode of the Batman TV series, The Spell of Tut, which aired on September 28, 1966. Later that same season, the Green Hornet and Kato appeared in the two-part second-season episodes A Piece of the Action and Batman's Satisfaction, which aired on March 1–2, 1967. In the two episodes, the Green Hornet and Kato are in Gotham City to bust a counterfeit stamp ring run by Colonel Gum. The Batman's Satisfaction episode leads to a mixed fight, with both Batman and Robin and the Green Hornet and Kato fighting Colonel Gum and his gang. Once Gum's crew was defeated, Batman and Robin squared off against the Green Hornet and Kato, resulting in a standoff that was interrupted by the police. In this episode, Batman, Robin, and the police consider the Green Hornet and Kato to be criminals, although Batman and Robin were cordial to the duo in the earlier window appearance. There is also a mention of the Green Hornet TV series on the Batman TV series episode The Impractical Joker. While watching TV together, Alfred, Dick Grayson, and Bruce Wayne are interrupted by the Joker. Then, after the interruption, the Green Hornet TV series theme music is heard. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe below. Please like and subscribe below.